recording. Stand by. And Chair Shimakubo, you are live and may begin.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Janice Shimakubo, Chair of the City of Scottsdale Human Relations Commission. It's 5 p.m. on Monday, April 12th, 2021, and I'd like to call to order the meeting of the City of Scottsdale Human Relations Commission. And we'll start with a roll call. Commissioner Day.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Eneman.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Roden. Commissioner Roden. Commissioner Roden, are you there? Okay, we'll move on. We know Commissioner Shoyai is will be absent tonight, and from staff we have Sharon Sini.
Present, Chair.
Thank you. Kelly Corsett.
Yes, here. Thank you.
Thank you. Brent Stockwell.
Yes, I'm here as well.
Thank you, Brent. Bill Hyland. And tonight we have three guests with us. Mayor Ortega. Thank you for being here, sir. And for agenda item number 2, we have Jason Wong, who is the president of ACEL. And for agenda item number 3, we have Pete Palmer, who is the chair of the Scottsdale Veterans Advisory Commission. And so now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from March 8th, 2021. Is there any discussion about the minutes?
Chair, Vice Chair Hinchman is present as well.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hinchman. Are there any comments or additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Hinchman, and thank you, Commissioner Day. We'll take a quick roll call vote. Commissioner Eneman. Commissioner Eneman, do you approve the minutes? Commissioner Day.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Roden. Commissioner Hinchman.
Yes.
And Commissioner Shimakubo is a yes. Thank you. So I'd like to just check in and make sure that Commissioner Roden is here. I do see him on the roster, or no, he has fallen off them. So Kelly or Bruce, when he comes in, could you please let us know? Thank you.
I'm here.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Let's move on to agenda item number 2, which is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations to staff and city council regarding AAPI hate crimes and a letter to Governor Ducey. So before we turn this over to Jason Wong, I just want to make a couple comments. Most of us on this call know that anti-Asian sentiment has been around for maybe over 150 years, really starting when the first immigrants came from Asia. And it seems like there are undertones going on, but maybe every 20 to 30 years, something flares up. So for example, 1882, there was the Chinese Exclusion Act, and the 1924 Immigration Act banned any immigrants from Asia. And in 1942, the Japanese and Japanese Americans were interned in internment camps. And in 82, there was the killing of Vincent Chin, who was mistaken for a Japanese because, as you probably recall, the auto industry was going through a downturn in the US because of the Japanese automakers gaining market share. And then finally, in 2020, with the spread of COVID-19, it flared up again. So I'd like to thank Mayor Ortega for his statement of solidarity with the AAPI community that was issued on March 30th. That was a very important act, and we thank you very much for doing that, Mayor. And so now I'd like to turn the discussion over to Jason Wong, who is the president of the Asian Corporate Entrepreneur Leaders. And he took a leadership role in drafting a letter to the governor. And Jason, I'd like to turn it over to you because you did get the community to rally behind this. Jason, are you here? I see Jason on here, but I
Chair
do
Shimakubo,
not.
this is Kelly. Jason, I'm wondering if you're having a microphone issue because a microphone icon does not even show up next to your name. Jason did respond in chat, wondering if he was on mute. However, like I said, oh wait, now I see a microphone icon. And I've asked him to unmute. Jason, are you able to unmute now?
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Welcome, Jason.
Thanks, Chairwoman, for the introduction, and thanks for the Human Relations Commission for inviting me to join today. Apologize for the technical difficulty, but I also know the mayors on the call. Hello, mayors. I think that in regard to the reference to the letter, we the Asian Corporate and Entrepreneur Leader initiate a letter to with request to the governor, and in regard to the recent hate crime across the country, and particularly it did happen back in February when one of the Asian American community member got beat up and then die after that. We thought that it's very important to bring it to the attention to our state leader. And we did be able to get local businesses and organization, over 100 of them co-signed a letter with us. And really the goal is to make sure that our governor is taking action for prevention and as well as hate crime prosecution. And we submit the letter on Thursday. We have not heard anything yet from the governor office, but we are going to be continue doing the awareness campaign and reach out to other city official as well as state official. And I think we think that it's very important to address that, and more importantly, to have a dialogue. And we need our government official to lead and prevent and take care of all this bad situation that is taking place.
Thank you, Jason. And your organization in the City of Scottsdale Office of Diversity and Inclusion have been community partners for many years. So I thought we could open up the discussion to how could the commission help you in this endeavor, or I'd like to open it up to the commissioners as well. Any ideas that we may have for programming or things to support this initiative? Please raise your hand if you have any ideas. Thank you. I see Vice Chair Hinchman.
Thanks, Chair. I would just like to ask Mr. Wong what you would ask of us if you have anything that we can do to help you.
I think I think right now is really is about letting our community know and gather people to support us, and we do need answer from our governor. And of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want the local official to know, but we do want our top leader to know. The leader need to do something to prevent. Our biggest concern is we just don't want something really bad happen, like what happened in Atlanta, going to be here in Arizona. And we don't want that in Scottsdale either. And we want we want our leader to be ensure our community that there's also resources to support the reporting, to counseling, and as you all probably aware, Asian American represent many different ethnic background, and there's many in our community do need support in the different language. And I think as a commission, I am not so sure in terms of the level that support from the commission, but I do think that if there is if there's a way that you guys can support us to achieve that goal, that would be good.
Thank you, Jason. And I see Commissioner Roden has his hand up.
Thank you. Mr. Wong, I just want to say thank you so much for coming. I appreciate that tremendously. Sorry it's under these circumstances. I know you've been a community partner for a long time and appreciate the work that you and your organization do. With that said, I'm going to use an analogy, and for once it's not a sports analogy, but I see sort of, playing the piano. So on one hand, specific groups, ethnicities, races, etc., need the governor and other people to come out and say, this particular crime, and unfortunately it's reactive as opposed to proactive, but we are where we are, need to come out and say that this is wrong and we stand against hate. And on the other side, I see the need for intersectionality, in which we're talking about the Black community, the Asian community, LGBTQ plus, young people, women, Jewish population, all the different groups that exist in the world and in our state, of course. And so how do you see both of those, one, highlighting this particular incident, unfortunate incident, both in Arizona and in Georgia, and two, how do you see it in the bigger picture of how we can work in partnerships with other groups and organizations to end discrimination, period, in this state?
I think in the bigger sense is really the organization community need to have continued dialogue, right? I mean, of course, today I'm here because of what recently happened, take place that impact Asian American, but this dialogue should not be just only take place for one community group, but it should be on the regular basis. ACEL has always been regularly communicating with the different community. As you can see the letter, we did not just seeking for Asian community support. We reach out to all our partner, and we have what we call friend and community partner from the different ethnic background. But what more importantly is this issues apply to it because I think everyone need to be aware when there's a time like last year when Black Lives Matter took place. All the communities should also stand behind together, just like we would be expecting to any other group that is being treated because of the discrimination, or in this case hate crime.
Thank you so much.
Thank
for that.
you.
I'm sorry, can I have a follow-up real quick?
Of course.
All right. In the letter, you talk about the idea about hate crimes. And I know there's a federal statute, and we in Scottsdale, and in particular in this particular commission, have been talking about the idea for hate crime legislation. Is that something that you foresee as a longer range plan, something that could codify when instances like this happen in our state, that we actually have something that we can use to adjudicate these types of abhorrent behaviors and crimes?
Well, I mean, for the long run, I don't know how it's going to turn out to be, but we do know that we do want not just only the short-term solution, we do want a long-term solution. I'm expecting there's going to be more discussion on that, how are we going to be protecting, the, different minority group in this case, and, being, or hate crime even against, let's say, majority. I think just all of them are not acceptable. And we don't have because hate crime is very hard to define, and I am not so sure what is the best solution for it. But I think that this definitely need to be talked about with all community group, right?
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Roden and Jason. And I see Vice Chair Hinchman has her hand up.
Thanks, Chair. Just a follow-up. I would ask Commissioner Roden if this could be a town hall topic. Education is huge. And as we saw with the recent Honor Health incident with the sculpture that was put up and then quickly taken down, I think education is a starting point. So maybe make this one of our town hall topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hinchman. And this is Janice Shimakubo. I was also thinking along that similar line, and actually May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I know we have a town hall coming up still in April, but I'm wondering if there's a possibility that we could do one in May as well and do what Vice Chair Hinchman suggested, make it a very educational format. Yes, I see Commissioner Roden.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Vice Chair, for reading my mind. I'll Venmo you the $1. I was actually looking at the current, because the timeline is pushed up to April 28th. That's a couple hours before May 1st, and so I think that it's perhaps possible to I believe it deserves its own. But I believe with the current format that we have, to include potentially questions or observations or current events or something like that that also touches upon this in the current town hall that we have scheduled is something that we could definitely do. So I appreciate that comment. Thank you so much.
Okay, I see Commissioner Day has her hand up.
I like the idea of including it in a town hall. I would make sure that there was someone on the panel that could move that discussion and education part along. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other thoughts that we'd like to share with Jason right now? And so, Jason, what I'm hearing from this discussion is that we would very much like to add the educational element to our town hall. So we will put that down as a discussion item for agenda item number 5 actually tonight. And also, I know that we as individual citizens can certainly take action, and it sounds like perhaps a letter writing campaign to the governor's office or the like could be something that we could as individuals do. And so, Jason, I'd like to thank you for coming tonight. And we know that as a diversity partner, we will continue to keep in touch with you. So thank you very much. And before we close this discussion, I wondered if the mayor, you would like to ask any questions or make any comments.
Thank you, Chairwoman. My belief is that Scottsdale does grow and learn, and we are coming upon our 70th anniversary or birthday as a city. That will be celebrated this June, and I believe that we should look at a complete, I want to say, self-examination of the celebration of who we are and our diverse, I want to say, cultures, arrivals, and contributions that are made. So I think this can and should be part of, I believe I'll discuss it with Kelly Corsett, as far as almost our own gift to ourselves as a community. And we can celebrate. I greatly appreciate what Jason and the group has brought before us. And I think we should try to see if we can fold it into our month-long celebration. That's my suggestion.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ortega. That is an outstanding idea. So we should also, as a commission, we will put that on our agenda to provide ideas to Kelly and staff for ways to add to the 70th anniversary celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So at this point, we'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations to City Council regarding the anti-discrimination ordinance. And so all of the commissioners have received a packet of information that will be going to the City Council on April 20th. And since we received that packet of information, the Veterans Advisory Commission had met last Wednesday, April 7th, and reviewed their prior recommendation and have come up with a new recommendation. So here tonight is Pete Palmer, who is chair of the Scottsdale VAC. And Pete will explain what their April 7th discussion was about and where the VAC has landed now. And so I'll turn it over to Pete.
Thank you, Janice. Hopefully you all can hear me because I'm still getting my voice back. Just a quick summary. Last month, we had a short notice ad about the anti-discrimination ordinance. And the primary reason it was brought to our attention is because other cities had an addition of veterans into their ordinances. So we had a discussion, and actually we needed more information, which, and I appreciate Chairperson Shimakawa, Chairperson Shimakobo to calling me, and we've had some great discussions on that piece. Bottom line was, key question was, are we seeing discrimination against veterans or other military related? Because we have Guard. Unfortunately, veterans doesn't include everybody associated with the military from a legal piece, so we had to go through the legal process. But we tried to determine, are we seeing discrimination of any type within Scottsdale? Do we have any history of it? And the short answer was no. None of us on the commission or none in the city has seen any type of discrimination against veterans. We all feel very welcome here. And I think Scottsdale's listed as the top 7 in the nation for veteran-friendly communities. So that helps us with our tourists as well. So as we went through the discussion last week, we did not see a need for us to be included or veterans to be included in the anti-discrimination ordinance. In other words, we don't need an ordinance for a problem that doesn't exist, at least to our knowledge. So we then voted and decided that we would ask the council to not include veterans, which is a change from our first vote in April where we said included, because so the current recommendation to the city council is we not include the veterans. If in the future, if we ever do find that discrimination comes up, then we can address it. And I'll, of course, get with your commission if that gets to that point. All that being said, I will tell you that there is, I won't say discrimination, but within the Valley and within Arizona, there are biases towards veterans, many of them occurring for the misperception that everybody has PTSD. But for the most part, we have not seen major discrimination pieces within the Valley either. So thank you very much. And I appreciate and applaud your effort on the anti-discrimination ordinance.
Thank you very much, Chair Palmer. And also just want to make sure that we're clear as well that on April 7th, I believe that the VAC rescinded struck all of the recommendations. So at this point, keep me honest here, Chair Palmer, there is no reference at this point to veterans or any of the military status.
That's correct. And apologize for the long list. that was more a legal term because each of those veterans has a legal entity and guard has it just gets tied up in legal. There's no nice one term to pull it together. So apologize for the first iteration where we gave you a long list. That was a lawyer ad. So no, there will be no addition. We're not recommending addition for any of those particular classes.
Thank you very much for that clarification. And I see two hands raised. Commissioner Roden.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. And one, thank you, Pete, for coming. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your new commission and look forward to seeing more about the work that you all are doing. I just want to ask a clarifying question. So when you say that you don't see any discrimination, does that also include employment and housing and those types of things as well? Places where it could be more subtle. I mean, I don't foresee, things that we were just talking about in our previous agenda item. Perhaps, thank God, no, nothing like that so far. But in the more subtle ways, was that part of the discussion that your commission had? Thank you.
Yeah, we've discussed that, and to be honest, having been commander of several bases and stuff, through the history, we have run into that, in particular to service members' wives, because service members move around a lot, so they show up in a town and they're only going to be there for a year or two, so people don't want to hire them. So technically they don't get caught up in the HR piece, but that those things happen. We have no indication that is occurring in Scottsdale. First of all, Scottsdale really isn't a military community. It's not like it's out at Fort Luke or Fort Huachuca, so we don't have that as big. But we had no data point, and it's more the impression. We don't see any type of bias or discrimination along that way to veterans by any of the businesses that we know of. Of course, it's one of those things that if you aren't looking, you probably didn't collect the data, but we don't think it is a big issue here.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden, and thank you, Chair Palmer. And Vice Chair Hinchman has her hand up.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, thank you, Chairman Pete, for being so open and willing to talk to our chair and helping us along with this. We want to be there in any way, and we want to work with you. So I want to state for the record that anytime something does come up, please know that this entire commission is behind the veterans, and we're here. So I am grateful that you and Janice, Chair Shimakubo, talked so many times. It really, really helped clarify things. And I appreciate everything you guys have done. I really am glad that you're here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice Chair
Thank you.
Hinchman. Are there any other questions for Chair Palmer? Chair Palmer, you're welcome to stay, but at this point, what we're going to do is for tonight, this agenda item, we have, as an HRC, been asked to review the recommendation one more time and to clarify our recommendation to the City Council. So given the new information about the Veterans Advisory Commission, we have two different options for us to review today. And one would be, do we want to move forward with, as Sharon's shown on the screen, option A on the left, which is the original language in the very first proposal, which covers race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability as protected classes. Or option B, which was the most recent, that included all of the said U.S. military status. So given that, is there any discussion from the commissioners about either of those? I don't see any hands, and so I wonder if a commissioner would like to make a motion that we can vote on for tonight. Vice Chair Hinchman.
I'd like to make a motion that we stick with our original unanimous vote for option A, which covers race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, or disability as protected classes.
Thank you. And this is Janice Shimikubo. I would like to second the motion. Is there any discussion? I don't see any hands raised, so we'll do a roll call vote for this. Commissioner Day,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Heineman, I do not see Commissioner Heineman on the call at this point. He must have dropped off. Commissioner Mendoza,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Roden,
Yes.
thank you. Vice Chair Hinchman,
Yes.
and this is Janice Shimikubo. I vote yes. So we have 2 that are absent and 5 yeses. Okay, thank you very much. Is there anything else anyone would like to discuss about this agenda item? Because we know the next step now is that the VAC recommendation and the HRC recommendations will move forward to the City Council, and the City Council will be meeting on April 20th to vote on this ordinance. Does anyone have any other discussion? Okay, well, thank you, everybody, and for Chair Palmer for coming, for Mayor Ortega and the City Council, and really all the commissioners. We have been working on this for several months, and to staff. So it feels like we have come to a place where we have some good collaboration and conclusion. So these will go forward to the City Council. Thank you, everyone. And we will now move on to agenda item number 4, which is discussion and possible recommendations regarding dates, times, topics, and formats for future community town halls. And I'll turn it over to Commissioner Roden and Sharon. But I think let's keep in mind what we just heard during our discussion with Jason Long. We may want to reconsider the topic for the next meeting. And with that, I shall turn it over to Commissioner Roden and Sharon.
Thank you so much, Chair Shimikubo. I appreciate everything that's happened so far in the discussion tonight. I appreciate that. And I want to ask, before I say anything else, is what you see in front of you on the screen, it seems to me that topic can encapsulate what our discussion was earlier in the evening, and be able to include, because obviously for me, I don't see race as just simply a black and white issue, and racism as a simply black and white issue. And I can, there's a lot of different ways to incorporate a discussion on some of the topics, and there's the TED Talk, but also including the ideas of including some of the headlines. And so we can include the headline of the incident in February. We can include other instances, that anyone would send to me or Sharon, that we could compile together to create what I would like to see as a holistic discussion. And on a personal front, I'm absolutely, and I don't want to use this word I'm thrilled that the discussion will be an opportunity to expand the articulation of racism as something that is beyond black and white, because I think that is so critical to us moving forward and part of the educational process. And for me, the reason the town halls exist is to not just oversimplify things and talk about things as some people perceive them, but rather as they are.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Is there any other discussion, or Sharon, do you have any comments to make? Right now, it looks like we have a date confirmed. Is that correct, Sharon?
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, so at this point, the question is, would we like to modify the content? So I'm hearing we would not change the title or the format, but we may then make modifications to the content. Given that, I have some ideas that perhaps we could add to it, which we could talk about, I think, offline. Does anybody else have any comments that they'd like to bring up now publicly? This is Janice Shimakubo again. I really like the idea of making this a very holistic view. And given that, I'd like us to figure out how to, without crowding the content, bring in, as you've pointed out, Commissioner Roden, more than Black, African American, Asian. We could bring in Latinx, LGBTQ, and Native Americans, and figure out a way to bring it all together and yet still give enough information so people understand the scope of this as well as the details. It's a big order.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. This is Sharon Saney. Wanted to let the commission know that we will be meeting with Dr. Martin on April 15th at 1 p.m. to review the specifics as you're speaking today. So I appreciate the feedback ahead of time. And I wrote down the areas that you had just indicated. So we'll make sure that those are a part of the conversation. And if you'd like to be a part of that, Chair, feel free to let me know and I can make sure that you have an invitation.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. And then if other commissioners have ideas for content, please send them to Commissioner Roden or Sharon so that we can make sure that we do have a comprehensive view of everything. And of course, we will have future town halls. So on that note, Sharon or Stuart, have you thought about even beyond the month of April? And I see Commissioner Roden's hand is up.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. I have, and hearing what the mayor said about the Scottsdale 70th, I don't know, you want to call it a birthday or anniversary, however we call it. I think that would be another rich time to have a discussion in which once you take a week or so to decompress and look at the data from this latest town hall and at the end of April to sort of see what the next steps are. I think depending on the number of people that are present, depending on the questions that are asked, I think that could sort of lead us in a direction. And I also, I want to both follow and lead at the same time, if that makes sense. And so I don't want to move too far ahead of what the community is ready or willing to hear, but I also want to sort of push us a little bit further into some of the things that we as a commission have talked about in terms of intersectionality and the types of groups that you're talking about, because I don't see it as, okay, well, we've solved racism for this group and now we need to go to the next group. I see it as the reason for the idea of the puzzle pieces is to have, I like to equate when we talk about these issues that it's really easy to take a 500-piece puzzle and put it on the table, but so many people have so many different ways of putting puzzles together, right? Do you do the edges? Do you look for the faces? Do you figure out the names? Like, how do you put the puzzle pieces together? I think is something that is a rich discussion that many Scottsdale residents could have significant input in. So I look forward to that discussion after our town hall that we have scheduled.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. And Commissioner Mendoza has her hand up.
Thank you, Commissioner Shimakubo. I know we deferred this item to the discussion on strategy, but I think maybe it's appropriate to bring it up at this point because we're talking about the intersectionality and making everything holistic and putting everything together. I had sent Sharon and Commissioner Shimakubo a 21-day racial equity challenge that's being done by a Lawyers Association of Nevada. And I think that is going to be a good program for us to get everybody to educate themselves and access resources and materials that will help broaden their perspective on race and equity. And so I just wanted to bring that up, and maybe Sharon could distribute that material later on for all the other commissioners to see. And I was thinking maybe it would be good, since it's so close to May, which is AAPI Heritage Month. Originally, I was thinking it was going to be for AAPI, but might as well do it for everybody, right? And have all of the groups represented in there. So we can even, I was thinking, launch it during the town hall. So if that resource is available and you can find it, Sharon, you can share it. Otherwise, you can just distribute it after the meeting. Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. I will definitely do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. Yes, that 21-day challenge is very comprehensive. It's fascinating, and it's a lot of work. So I do like the idea, though, of having all the commissioners take a look at it, and let's see what we collectively think and how we might be able to incorporate that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Chair Shimakubo, the last piece of this item, just to let the commission know, we did, the graphic that you're seeing here is something that we put together specifically to try to be consistent with a certain image. So this is the image that we're thinking of as Commissioner Roden had mentioned, the puzzle pieces, putting it together. We know that these are Scottsdale for All community members. So we thought it appropriate to use those photos within this. And then each time we use this graphic, we'll change the title, of course, the date and the time. But ideally, we'd like to propose that we use this simple graphic design for the rest of the town halls.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have comments? Good. Yes, Commissioner Day.
Just a comment on the graphic. I like it. I think it's great. Nice job.
Thank you, Commissioner Day. So we just received this today. So the next steps are to finish the invitation and then launch it. So I'll have to finish that tonight and get it over to Kelly Corsett and others to take a look at it, make sure everything looks well. And then we'll put a plan to get it out on Facebook, on social media, to get people registered. Bruce Wall and I will work together on the Zoom link. So once folks are registered, we'll make sure that we get that out to them. As mentioned, we have a moderator conversation with Dr. Martin on April 15th. And then from there, what she's going to do is help develop poll questions and facilitation questions. So your feedback tonight is going to be incredibly valuable to her. So we really appreciate it. As soon as we get that, I'll put out a calendar hold as well for our city leaders and staff, as well as the commission. Are there any other suggestions that you have at this time?
Sharon, I don't, oh, I see Vice Chair Hinchman.
Sorry, Chair. I just want to say I agree with Commissioner Day. I think this looks great. And I love, well, I don't love how we can tie in a lot of different classes in riots, racism, and reconciliation. That's the sad part. But I think just keeping it general like that, we can really work with a lot of different backgrounds. So I think you guys have done a great job. This looks awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hinchman.
Okay, so I hope that all of us could put this on our calendars and make it, because it sounds like it's going to be a really meaty discussion, and it's going to be interesting too to see what type of response we get for the lunch hour. So that'll be another part of this town hall test. Oh, I see Commissioner Roden with his hand up.
I also just want to quickly give a shout out to Commissioner Shohei for her assistance and wonderful insights into the process. It's always good to have brilliant people working on projects that will help further the city. So I just wanted to publicly give her a shout out as well.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And thank you to the whole committee. So really good work. Okay, well then we shall move on to agenda item number 5, which is presentation, discussion, and possible recommendations regarding our strategic plan. And so what we're going to do in this agenda item is just have some short readouts by the different breakout groups. And so Commissioner Shoyai is not here today, but Sharon is going to give an update on the marketing messaging. Sharon?
Yes, thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. The social media pieces, of course, are around Facebook and Instagram. Commissioner Shoyai and myself had worked with Stephanie Hirata in the Public Affairs office. And for April, we will be sharing information on Western Week that leads into the American Indian Festival on the 17th and 18th. So we will be posting about that. We did want to wait until the Commission heard the item from Mr. Wong with regards to the governor to Doug Ducey, but LaDan had already prepared a draft narrative for a possible post on the hate crimes and discrimination and the support for the Asian American community. And so I do have a piece of that, and I'll work with the team to modify it just a little bit and make sure that we have it messaged correctly, and it looks really good. We will be posting something on celebrating Diversity Month. Of course, this is April 2021. We will also be releasing a short video on Monday, April 19th. It's a short video that we created for the Mayor's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities and students who received scholarships. This year we gave out $10,000, and we're so thankful for our main sponsors, Gila River Indian Community. That's a gaming grant. And I did submit another great gaming grant for next year as well. So we'll be sharing a post on that. After the ADO, again, depending on the status of the ADO, we'll be working with Kelly Corsett and his team, because more than likely they will prepare a news release of some type, and we'll take the lead from that office on that post. The last week, I don't have anything scheduled as of yet, so that's to be determined. LaDan had put together some really great hashtags, including hashtag hate crimes, hashtag Asian American, hashtag leadership, hashtag power, hashtag do the right thing, Scottsdale for all, diversity, and golden rule. And that is it for the marketing message.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon. Are there any questions? I see Commissioner Day and then Commissioner Roden.
Sharon, the video that you said that you compiled to send out, who are you sending it to? Will we be able to get that?
The Mayor's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities?
Yes.
Actually, it was just completed today. We had a couple of modifications, but for today, it was finished, and we're not presenting it until April 20th. So I thought we'd release it on April 19th. So I'm going to hold off a little bit because that's where students would have been honored.
So when you say when you're releasing it, where are you releasing it? On the web or what?
Yes, what we do, Commissioner Day, is we prepare a narrative, a short narrative that is impactful, that's engaging, and then we'll usually link something, whether it's an article or a video, a story of some type, to enhance the message that we're trying to create within the social media platform.
So where would we find that? Where would I find that?
You would go to the Office of Diversity Scottsdale for All Facebook page.
Okay.
I believe it'll also be on the Mayor's Committee on Employment of People with Disabilities website, which is a part of the Scottsdale for All, I'm sorry, scottsdaleaz.gov webpage. And so we'll have it there as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Roden.
Hi, I don't want to add to your work, Sharon, but can we also include Earth Day? The reason I say that is also because that is a really important day, obviously for the environmental people, but also as a way to maybe perhaps bring in more young people who focus on that issue and maybe not some of the other issues that we've talked about, and that might be a good point to capture some of the populations that we're trying to hit. So just an
Great
Earth
idea.
Day.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine.
Well, and I'll follow up with Kelly and his team. Typically, the city does have an emphasis on Earth Day, so I'll just double check on what they're planning on doing for this year, even if it's on a virtual level, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Roden and Sharon. And then one more question, Sharon, just for a refresher. Going forward, any ideas that commissioners have for the upcoming months? So for May, June, July, we should send those ideas to you and LaDan. Is that correct?
Yes, we still have the Excel spreadsheet that we drafted, and we'll basically put those in the schedule on any submitted ideas that you might have for topics and really the educational piece, right? So yes, by all means, send them my way and we'll get them on the schedule. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next update is the enhanced commissioner involvement. I believe Vice Chair Hinchman have a readout.
Thanks, Chair. So I have been in touch with Melissa, thanks to a connection through Commissioner Day. Melissa's from the Scottsdale Independent, and she's wanting to do a feature article on the Human Relations Commission. And what she proposed to me is that since we cannot all be in person together, she would like to reach out to each one of us individually for either a 10-minute phone call or email. I think she preferred phone call, but I have to get each one of yours permission that you're on board with this. And she basically just wants to write an article on what each of us with our different backgrounds are bringing to the table. So it's not going to be volatile. It's not going to be National Enquirer stuff. It's just bringing out what the commission does and how each one of us is adding to it, and what our mission is and how we're trying to keep with our mission. So it's individualized, yet it's also our whole group. So I do need approval from everybody before I reach out back to her and see how you guys feel about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hinchman, for reaching out to her and getting really some great information for us to discuss right now. So let me pose the question to the commissioners that are here. So right now we have Commissioner Day, Mendoza, Hinchman, Roden, and Shimakubo. For all of us, is everybody okay with allowing Emily to release our phone numbers?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner? Yes, okay. Stuart?
Yes,
Okay.
I confirm, whatever.
Thank you. And I agree too, Emily. So
Sorry, Chair. I just want to add just for everybody that she is very much in support of what we do, and she is wanting to do this. It didn't take much for me, so she is wanting to. So I just want you guys to know that it's, she comes from a good place.
it'll be a friendly interview, like you said.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, so then I'd like to ask Sharon if she would please, after our meeting today, reach out to Commissioner Eneman and Shoyai and just make sure that they're okay. So I guess Vice Chair Hinchman at this point cannot release their information until we get their approval.
Thank you, Chair. I will do that for the team. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Vice Chair. Good news. And when do you think it's going to be published?
She said she has a lot of space open in April, and I was hesitant to put it off to our meeting, but she is ready to go. So she said no problem in waiting till tonight. Once I give her the okay, she'll just take off. So it'll be fairly quick. She's trying to keep it with what the ADO is doing currently right now and what the city's going through. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's good. Excellent. Our next strategic initiative is to identify important trends in Scottsdale, and I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Mendoza and Commissioner Day.
Thank you, Chair. We have some slides to show you the data that we've been working on. So last month you heard a report from I forgot his name, about the
Mr. Johnson. Yeah.
Mr. Johnson, about the National Community Survey for 2020 for Scottsdale. And we heard a glowing report on how residents view Scottsdale in terms of different criteria. We also, if you recall, saw that D&I, or diversity and inclusion, was the least important among those factors that they rated. So that inspired us to dig deeper into the data. And as you can see here, based on trends over time, this is from the official survey for the city of Scottsdale. So you'll see here that, oops, why don't we have the trends on there? So with the items that are highlighted in pink, you'll see that for people who identify themselves as white, the rating towards good and excellent for these different criteria, like treating residents fairly, sense of community, etc., have all been increasing over time, which is 2016 to 2020. However, for people who identify themselves as Hispanic and or other races, the trend has been going down over time. So we decided to dig deeper and go into the demographics of this particular situation. Next slide, please.
Commissioner Mendoza, I only received one slide, so I wanted to make sure I have all the information that I have. So let me give me 1 second and let me just check the email one more time. Hold on.
Thank you. That was the latest one, for the one I sent today. That's the one. Thank you. So here you can clearly see that on the trends column, that for people who identify themselves as white, the rating has been improving during the three surveys that were conducted from 2016 to 2020. On the other hand, for people who identify themselves as Hispanic and other races, it has been decreasing during the three surveys that have been conducted from 2016 to 2020. And we specifically selected these criteria as items that have to do with diversity and inclusion. So this one is the supplemental survey. This is the one that where respondents opted in to take the survey, and the city obtained 1,129 responses from that. And you can see that the trend is mostly towards the good rating for all of the same criteria that was presented earlier. However, I included a footnote there that 93% of respondents for this opt-in survey identify themselves as white only. With that, we decided with Brent's help to dig deeper into the demographics of the respondents. And next slide, please. So here we see the difference in the ratings from the people who responded to the official survey and the people who responded to the opt-in survey. And we took demographics into consideration, like age, gender, and race. And we highlighted those areas where we saw significant differences in the responses. Like, for example, law enforcement treating residents fairly has a significant difference in responses between the official survey and the opt-in survey. And so the levels, the degrees of variances have been highlighted, have been color coded in this graph. So what the action plan that we agreed upon, Commissioner Day, myself, and Commissioner Shimokubo, is to further determine what is influencing these ratings from the respondents. Next slide, please. And so we came up with the action plan to suggest focus groups that we would conduct among the various demographics with the objectives of determining the underlying reasons or perceptions for these significant variations, which would also help us to determine any improvements in future survey questions. Also, with the feedback and the information that we will get from the focus groups, we hope to obtain insights and feedback for policy changes or programs and strategies that the commission can implement. So we're working with staff to determine if we have the budget to conduct these focus groups, as well as identify a competent facilitator and iron out the details for this action plan. So that is my presentation. Thank you, Chair and Sharon.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. Are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Roden.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for this wonderful presentation, Commissioner Mendoza. I'm trying to do the math in my head, and the number of respondents versus when I quickly look up what the general or the average or what people say our population is, which is around 250,000, there are a whole lot of people that we haven't necessarily connected with. And I understand I understand statistical analysis and all those types of things. But when we do the focus groups, and I absolutely positively love that idea, is there a way that we can capture people who may not have responded, people who may have just recently moved here, like a lot of the untapped people that are mentioned on that? Because when you look at the delineation, I'll just be honest, the thing that comes to my mind is separate but unequal, right? There's two Scottsdales, and that narrative that exists where some people perceive things as great and we don't need to change a thing, and some people are horrible, and some people perceive things as being horrible or problematic and there's nothing I can do about it. And so that is an ocean of opportunity for us to be able to hear those voices and to be able to actually really make an impact with the incoming, or the newly elected and now seated city council, as well as the new mayor. I think that provides us a rich opportunity of places to grow. The second comment is a little bit more controversial, and I know we can't delineate this in terms of statistical questions, but maybe even in terms of the focus group is not necessarily by race, but by ethnicity. And what I mean by that is that, let's say, or even social class, because I don't want to be as oversimplify it and say, all whites feel this way when, a working class, person in South Scottsdale who is white, sees the situation as problematic as, persons of color do. And so I want us, again, I want to muddy the water a little bit. And when you look at the numbers, it's like, oh my God, this is this and that is that. But I'm looking forward to the focus groups and seeing, delving deeper into the question that I always tend to ask is why, right? Why are these numbers the way they are? What does that mean? As we're celebrating our 70th anniversary, what are some of the trends and things that have happened in the past? Are people exasperated and just put their head down and do what they do? Or are they willing to maybe change and figure out things? And how can the city in general and this commission in particular sort of help to make those things happen? I mean, I know we do a tremendous tremendous job of, I mean, Sharon mentioned 100 things, that are available, and, whether they be festivals or, walks or events or things like that. And, the old adage from, Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come, isn't necessarily always the case, and so if you build it, they will come, and people need to feel welcome coming. And so I think that is our challenge as we move forward. But I appreciate seeing the stark numbers, and I hope as people watch this that they sort of see, where can I contribute to help make this happen in terms of creating a more holistic Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. This is Janice Shimakubo. I also wanted to comment as well. So this is, in my opinion, sort of step one in potentially multiple phases. So I think the focus groups at the beginning is going to be really important, because we have to always keep in mind this is qualitative information, right? So and in this case, I believe we're going to be asking for 6 unique focus groups. So hopefully the city budget will allow us to have that many. But ideally, to Commissioner Roden's point, wouldn't it be great if we could expand that and really start to more finely dissect these different groups? But I really do applaud the work that's been done up to now. And I certainly keep my fingers crossed that we will be able to afford at least 6 focus groups. And so at this point, I'm going to put staff on in the hot spot. But do you have any idea at this point whether this is going to be doable, Sharon, or are you still looking at the budget?
Well, I think it's really important that we do sit down and think about this. And by all means, I mean, gosh, I always want to implement these wonderful ideas. And, let's meet and let's chat about it and figure out the specifics, the times, there's COVID regulations still happening. So I guess my question would be, what might be the time frame for 6 focus groups? Are you thinking after the summertime? Or are you thinking before the summertime? Or what are you thinking?
I believe we were thinking May. I will defer to Commissioner Mendoza and Day. Commissioner Mendoza and Day, go ahead. Go ahead, Hannah Lee first.
Oh yeah, I think if we were to be able to iron out the details of it, because questions are very important, the profile of the groups, the demographics that we're going to get is very important as well. And also the facilitator is very important. So when we iron out those details, we can kind of, and finding those people that we want to include in our groups, that's going to be the challenge. So May is the earliest, but I would also say June.
I think this might take some time to put together because we just finished the town hall piece of it. So I did see Brent Stockwell's hand up, so I'd like to hear from him. Thank you.
Well, can we go to Commissioner Day, and Brent took his hand down, but let's go to Marty first. Marty, comments?
Well, I agree with Hannah Lee that we would like to do it as soon as possible. And I guess I would throw this out there that if the budget doesn't allow for 6, could we half it? Could we do 3 to get the information and the ideas that we're looking for? The only thing that I don't know how the choosing goes into a focus group. I just want to make sure that we don't choose based on the responses that we would like to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Day. Are there any other hands? I don't see any more right now, Sharon and Commissioners Day and Mendoza. So at this point, thank you for all the work on this. We will just follow up next month. Assume that work will continue behind the scenes to identify, to put more details around the proposal. And then we will hopefully, staff will be able to do a little more number crunching and see what's possible.
Yes, thank you, Commission. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, everyone. The next strategic initiative is the one that we're calling City Relationships. And I do want to point out that this is the one where Commissioner Edelman and I said we were going to talk to different groups within the city of Scottsdale. So I want you to know on March 23rd, we had a meeting, and Sharon as well, with Experience Scottsdale and their IDEA, which is their diversity group. And Experience Scottsdale is just doing a phenomenal job on diversity and inclusion, and they've actually hired a consultant to work with them, a diversity consultant. So we will continue to keep in touch with them and share information. So that will be an ongoing dialogue. And now I want to welcome also Rob Miller, who is the director for the Scottsdale Economic Development Office. And on March 22nd, Commissioner Edelman, Sharon, and I met with Rob, and he very graciously went through the Economic Development Strategic Plan draft. And we were blown away by the depth of the information, the scope of the work that was done. There is a consultant that the Office of Economic Development brought in to assist with this work, and it is very, very well done. All of you have received a copy of both the 82-page plan as well as PowerPoint of the plan. And so what we would like to do today is have a short discussion about it, but also ask the commission if we would vote on the recommendation to write a letter of support to City Council for this economic development strategic plan. And the reason why is multifold. First of all, I mean, I personally have been involved in a corporate world in dozens of strategic planning projects. And this to me was just, I mean, superb. So, and I know Commissioner Edelman has also been through many, many strategic planning processes. So it's a really sound plan. And I know many of us are private small business owners, and we know Commissioner Shoyai is a startup person. So we know we've got a lot of business acumen on this commission. But secondly, and equally important, is the fact that this draft plan has diversity and inclusion just woven throughout. And obviously that's so important in today's world, the business world, the corporate world, where it's not just good enough to have a good, financial plan, but it also has to be the right culture plan and the right diversity and inclusion mix. So I think this plan has everything included in it. So I'm going to stop at this point and ask if any commissioners have any questions or comments to Rob Miller, who is also here with us tonight. Okay, Commissioner Roden.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. I sat in on one of the info sessions and was able to see some of the public discussion about this particular PowerPoint presentation, which, as you said, is extremely extensive. And again, I'm going to lean into the why. And I think, and I don't want to overburden people with numbers, and I don't want to overburden people with, what I like to call blue ink in terms of links to data. But I do believe that a stronger emphasis on why diversity is important. It promotes better, opportunities for growth. It promotes there's so many different things as to why it's important, and it's not just a matter of, again, to the point about the town hall picture, it's not just a matter of putting the puzzle pieces on the table. It's actually working together, understanding difference, understanding and appreciating the breadth of knowledge, as you mentioned, about this. Like, this is a perfect example of, this commission, and I'm sure all the other commissions, that when you put people who are from different backgrounds together, then you create amazing things. And and if that means a better economic pod, if you will, for lack of a better word, for the city of Scottsdale, then so be it. But I also believe that it could relate to what Commissioner Mendoza and Commissioner Day were talking about in terms of a better environment for people to want to come here, as not just the current organizations and businesses and small businesses and individuals and families that live here, but people in general would say, hey, I'm graduating from ASU. I think, Scottsdale does seem like it's, getting their stuff together, and they want to create startups and, have more groups like Weebly and et cetera, come to their city, and that covers the broad scope of when we're talking about diversity. The other thing is that I think in looking at some of the specific slides, and this is just a nitpicky thing for me, is I prefer forward-thinking language as opposed to problematic language. So what we don't have could be replaced with, Scottsdale sees a rich environment or a rich opportunity for growth in this particular area, as opposed to, Scottsdale is lacking, diversity, and like those types, just the words, I think, and the language in which it could be expressed, flip it from a negative to a positive. And there are a couple of examples. I'll just give you two off the top. Slide 3, slide 8, or not slide 8, slide 7, I believe. 12% is on slide 8. Sorry, diversity and high inequality. When you say high inequality, that that's a big red stop sign for a lot of people, as opposed to seeing it as a place of growth. And so it's just, it's just a suggestion for the language, as opposed to, a complaint. But I understand the statistics. It's just a matter of verbiage, if you will. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. Any other comments? This is Janice Shimikubo. I also wanted to mention that when we did talk with Rob, he also explained that clearly what we have in front of us is still a pretty high level plan, right? It has strategies and it has some tactics, but really the real detail is not built up yet. And so we left the meeting really saying that this commission would be more than willing to provide any kind of suggestions or ideas when the plan comes to implementation. And by the way, this plan is going to also be on the City Council's agenda for April 20th. So they will be voting on two different things, our anti-discrimination ordinance, as well as this draft strategic plan. So again, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the city to sort of leverage all of the different resources that are here, like not only the Economic Development Office, but then the HRC, right, and the other different commissions. So I think it's a start of something that could be a really positive thing going forward. And I see Commissioner Mendoza has her hand up.
I just wanted to comment that I read somewhere in the report, and I think we all know that Scottsdale's senior population is also a significant part of the community. I just didn't see anything that would harness that particular segment of the Scottsdale community in the plan. It all seemed like young professionals or something. So I wanted to find out if there's something in the plan that addresses how you harness the abilities, the resources of the older population that is in Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. I don't mean to put Rob on the spot. So Rob, I don't know if you want to address any of the comments that have been made. Otherwise, please go ahead, sir.
Well, sure. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and the Commission. I appreciate spending some time with you this evening and for having me here in the time that you've spent with us and looking at our draft strategy that is going to council the same night on April 20th. And, it really is important that, that we talk about forward strategies and the goals that are laid out in the plan. I really appreciate the comment that, we have to make sure that this is visionary and that we're looking at what we want to become. And so it's, the strategy as it now has 6 goals. And the one that I think is part and parcel to this conversation is that, advancing economic prosperity, and that really is about making inclusion and economic development priority. And so to specifically to the question about seniors,
Oh, Rob, you cut out for a minute.
evaluate the needs of our business community. So that's an ongoing process. And so one business, one industry may have a need for talent in one area that may not necessarily reflect the needs of other industries and other businesses in our community. So that's important that's an evaluation process, and that is in our action plan to make sure that we're constantly evaluating that. And I'll share too that what is going to council on April 20th, and I think you all have a link to the full strategy that has, really getting into the nuts and bolts of how the city is going to achieve these goals and objectives, and that's the action elements and the action items that talks about it. While this plan came out of the Economic Development Department, it's important that this is a city and a community strategy. This is an economic development plan for the community. We can't do this alone. And that's why I really greatly appreciate just having the introduction to the commission and talking about how are we going to work together on diversity and inclusion, because we really are going to look to your leadership and as we start talking to the business community and talk about specific initiatives, how can we work with the commission to make some of these things happen? Because we have experts throughout the city, but really, you're leading that, and we need you to be a part of that. And so I really appreciate you lending that. And as we take this to council on April 20th, please feel free to email me, call me. I'd be happy to jump on a call and meet you for coffee and go through some of the various items and see, if there's any other specific items we can make, and so we can incorporate that into the draft strategy that the council is going to consider on April 20th. But I do appreciate you having a little bit of time on your agenda tonight, and for you giving the strategy a good review, and for your commitment to be a part of helping us. How do we implement it in the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And we did get a link to I think it was 82 pages, and there was a lot of really meaty stuff in there, really detailed information, and a lot of the statistics about our city were very enlightening, very interesting. So it looks like we don't have any other discussions. So I would like to make a motion to have the chair and vice chair send a letter of support for this plan to the city council. And I wondered if there's a second for that.
This is Commissioner Roden. I second that.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table, and I'd like to just do a quick roll call vote. And we have 5 commissioners today, 2 who are absent. So I will start with Commissioner Day.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mendoza.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hinchman.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Roden.
Yes.
Thank you. And this is Commissioner Shimakubo. I vote yes. And just one quick sidebar. Commissioner Shoyai read through everything, and she wrote an email to Sharon and me and said, if you're having a vote, I'm in. She's really supportive of it, but I know that that's just a sidebar. So at this point, we have a motion. It's been approved. We have five yes and 2 who are absent. So thank you very much. And thank you, Rob, for joining us tonight. And we will now move on to agenda item number 6, which is updates, discussion, and possible recommendations to staff regarding recent and upcoming diversity and inclusion related activities and incidents impacting the city of Scottsdale. And I shall turn it over to Sharon.
Thank you, Commission. This will be fairly quick, but the first one is fairly important. And of course, the Regional Unity Walk 2022 is already in discussions and in coordination with other municipal hosts, the city of Chandler, Mesa, Phoenix, Tempe, Scottsdale, Guadalupe, and Gilbert. We are part of the planning committee. And one of the things that we met about recently was whether number one, to ask our commissions about ideas that we have, to go back either to an in-person walk or keep the format of a virtual platform. So for example, if we keep the virtual platform, this past year we did the art walk and made it very specific. We would come up with a similar theme for next year. And then we would promote our own city events in January, as we typically do anyways. And so in Scottsdale in January, we would continue to promote the Martin Luther King Diversity Champion announcements, the dinner, Scottsdale Voices, and then of course, continue to participate and support the Scottsdale Center for Performing Arts Peace and Community Day. So I wondered if you had any suggestions on whether or not you wanted to consider a in-person. Now here's some of the considerations you might think about. The cost of a festival in person is about $14,000. So each of the cities will earmark about $1,500 each year to help support that festival. And then the city of Tempe has been absorbing some of the other costs around the festival grounds, the facilities that are needed, et cetera, et cetera. In comparison to a virtual platform, not including Peace and Community Day or Martin Luther King Day festivals, that cost less than $500. And that included this year things like t-shirts. Of course, Scottsdale did a specific Scottsdale Art Walk along with our Golden Rule tree planting. But for the most part, the things with banners or t-shirts, those types of things, it was a very low cost and compared to the overall big event. Now, one other thing that they talked about was maybe considering having the responsibility rotate to other cities. So in other words, if we were going to do an in-person walk, where would we do it in Scottsdale? And of course, I'm thinking the Greenbelt might be the best. But these are bigger, different kind of ideas that we're still hashing out, but we weren't really sure. So we thought, you know what, let's just touch base with our commission, see what your thoughts are on an in-person or if we continue to do a virtual type of platform. Thank you on that, and I'll wait for comment.
Okay, Sharon, we have 3 hands up. So I have my hand up on Vice Chair Hinchman and Commissioner Roden. I just have a quick question. Should that slide read 2022?
It should read 2022. My apologies.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because, okay. So with that, I shall turn it over to Vice Chair Hinchman. You have a comment or question?
Yes, thanks, Chair. So one of the things I was going to bring up anyway, and I don't know if the mayor is still on the call, but
no, he is not. He left.
Okay, that's fine. I'm wondering, you know, City Council is meeting in person, and we have, I think, 7 commissioners at a time. I was going to ask the staff if they foresee any way we can start meeting in person again with, you know, restrictions in place and safety precautions practice. But is there a plan where we can soon be able to have our meetings either at the design studio in person as more and more people are getting vaccinated and numbers are going down? So I am wondering if anybody can answer that for me, because as much as I love preparing dinner and driving to soccer while on a meeting with the HRC, I would much rather see you guys in person. And I'm just wondering if there's a future for that. With that being said, now that you've clarified that the Unity Walk is 2022, my thought is, can we start, money aside, can we start the preparations for in-person? I just feel that virtual is people are so fatigued with virtual. It's not the same. We're getting to a better place finally. I'm voting for in-person, as long as you know, safety is always on our minds. But does staff have any input as to where we're at with that? And that would be my guess. I understand the huge budget difference, but you can't beat being in person. And if we're able to, I say we start planning for that, especially in 2022.
Vice Chair Hinchman, this is Janice Shimakuba. I just want to sort of dissect what you were talking about. So one is the question about the regional unity walk. Should that be in person? And then your point is our private not private meetings, our monthly meeting, our monthly meetings. So
and I tied that all in because it's very two different things, but I tied it all in because at some point we're going to get back to being in person. And if we're talking about 2022, I think we should plan in person.
For the regional unity walk.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to just, yes.
Okay, so let me ask Commissioner Roden, did you have a comment about Sharon's unity walk?
Yes, but we can do this first. That's completely fine.
Okay.
I go with this.
Okay, well, why don't we finish the unity walk discussion and then we'll have a hold on this in-person meeting.
Okay. Well,
please go ahead.
Thank you. My comment on the unity walk, and I want to put walk in quotations because to the point that one, I think it should be in Scottsdale. So that's what I want to say. And I do, and I appreciate Sharon bringing that up as an idea. And, you know, again, thinking about things on the same wavelength, rotating where it is creates opportunities for going to different cities, seeing different things, seeing the beauty and specificity of the different places, the different cities and towns that are a part of this process. And so I really think that could be a really, you know, fortunate thing. The other thing that I was thinking of along the lines of Vice Chair Henchman is that in person, but also maybe I don't want to say a festival, but you know, a larger gathering place where maybe there's a speaker and there's things that are promoting, you know, hey, Tempe's doing this and Mesa's doing this and so is doing that, or sort of like a celebration. And the reason I put walk in quotations is to think about, you know, some of the people that might not be able to walk a whole mile, or, you know, logistically in terms of that can also potentially increase cost in terms of having to, you know, close off streets or reserve a larger area in terms of being able to do that. And I just think if we had, you know, and I don't mean to step on toes, but, you know, something to the effect of, you know, the free hugs person giving a talk, like, you know, combining some of the things so that we can offset some of the costs and be able to really sort of showcase the regional unity walk, highlight Scottsdale, and you know, and whether it be, you know, in Civic Center or Salt River or any of the places. I mean, there's a, you know, multitude of places that we could have it, but sort of in that sort of way where people are invited to come, and, you know, food trucks and that type of thing, so that it's really a showcase for the diversity and as well as for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. And, you know, I really should have put Regional Unity Walk and Festival, because we do in past years have really enhanced the idea of festivals because of what you just said. There are some people who would like to join in but can't or don't want to walk, but they certainly do enjoy the festival. And that's the biggest, when I mentioned the $14,000 price tag, that includes all of the things that you just talked about. It includes food, things that Tempe was coordinating, like the hot dogs and chips and water. They were coordinating the event producers who would bring out the music or performers. Each time they would think about diversity, different diverse groups in different ways to highlight those. They had it on the big stage, of course, at Tempe Beach Park, and that was an easy route because we just go in a circle and we end up right back at the grounds there, and then we're done. So absolutely, I think these are all great ideas. So let's keep that in mind. It is a regional unity walk / festival. So my apologies for not including that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon. And we have two more hands up, Commissioner Day and then Commissioner Hinchman.
Well, I agree. I really like the idea of the festival and the food trucks, especially for people that wouldn't be walking but could enjoy the day. The other question I have for Sharon is this an all cities decision? In other words, if we decided to do it, but maybe, I don't know, Tempe decided not to, or do you make the decision that everyone is doing it or not? Thank you.
Oh, that's a great question. I appreciate it. In fact, I brought that up because they had asked during the planning meeting, well, who would want to host the next one? And so, of course, I piped up and said, well, maybe Scottsdale can do that. So yes, great minds think alike, because I think we would really be able to showcase Scottsdale in a way we haven't before. So what I would do with your feedback, commissioners, is I would reconvene with take our ideas and reconvene with the planning committee and let them know the feedback that we received, that ideally, yes, if we can plan out something in Scottsdale. Now, these are all pending conversations. We do have to do the same thing with budget. I know you have another large proposal on the table with regards to focus groups. And so there's quite a few great initiatives here, but I will tell you, for the Regional Unity Walk, we do have civic events funding for that. Now that would be, we know that we have the Golden Rule Day earmarked for that, and we would have to talk about whether or not we would do a Unity Festival and a Golden Rule Day, or do a combination. I think that's what I'm hearing, is do a combination, because it's Unity and Golden Rule are kind of one and the same, hand in hand. So yes, I'm jotting down all of your notes, and what I'd like to do is reconvene with them and then talk, and then what I'll do is I'll give you an update, if that's okay, Commissioner.
Sharon, you have one more hand up. Commissioner Henchman, did you have another comment related to this before we close this topic?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I just wanted to agree with Commissioner Roden that I don't think we should move it around either. I think we should own this and keep it in Scottsdale. And yes, I also agree with the festivities and all that stuff as well. So that's it.
Oh.
Thanks.
Well, then this is Janice Shimakuba. I do have a comment. I was thinking we are rotating it because the Regional Unity Walk was all the cities. So I was leaning towards, pick a city each year, right, Sharon? That's what it would be.
Yeah,
the city for the
could be. It could be, and it really depends, because it's a huge endeavor, and so it depends. Mm-hmm. Each city would just have to evaluate their capacity and all of that. Because again, like the city of Mesa, they'd be happy to do it, but they also manage the big Martin Luther King parade. So they've got a very large initiative there as well.
Okay. So it might end up being Scottsdale all the time.
It could be. Tempe again is a great location, but again, I know that they've been doing it for the past 20 years, and I would say at this point, it sounds like it looks like good possibilities for Scottsdale. So what I'll do is I'll start thinking about this festival, because I've been involved with this for the past 7 years. So I can also look at budgetary type of things. The city of Tempe has been a great record keeper for all of these. And I will propose to them, again, the two things: either Scottsdale could own it, or, we really love to see the festival move around to different locations, as Dr. Roden mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, and Commissioner Henchman has her hand up still. Vice Chair Henchman, did you want to make another comment?
No, sorry, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. Thank you, Sharon. I think then that concludes this Regional Unity Walk / Festival 2022. Okay.
Thank you.
And I don't want to lose Vice Chair Henchman's idea. So let's go on to the Scottsdale leadership, and then we'll talk about future agenda.
Thank you. And I would want Kelly Corsett or Brent Stockwell to talk to that, because we've had some internal questions and we are doing some modifications, but I'll wait for that. Commission, really quickly on this last bullet, Scottsdale Leadership Program Inclusion Initiative Day. It was a great group of people. This was held last Friday. I was able to do my first in-person presentation all year. So that was really great. I really like what they did. If you don't know Scottsdale Leadership in this Initiative Day, is they create a whole day dedicated to enhancing awareness and knowledge, thinking about different aspects of diversity, getting to know their classmates beyond their appearance. They're recognizing personal biases, and they do all kinds of activities. And that's what they did throughout the day. Activities such as, what do you see? They looked at the diversity iceberg. They looked at opportunities to gain awareness, understanding stereotypes and how the stereotypes can lead to microaggressions or micro insults. What I did for the Office of Diversity, certainly we talked a great deal about what we do as a service for the public, the partners that we have, the focus from the community side, and then the focus on the employee side. And then I went into the Human Relations Commission. Other speakers that were similar to ours would be Community Celebrating Diversity. One community was there right before us, and she, Angela Huey, was discussing the Scottsdale anti-discrimination ordinance. And then I went into our pieces, but specifically because I knew this group would probably have this whole wonderful day, they needed to know why this matters. And we all know that when we see the data and we have the pieces that talk to us, this is really their opportunity. So what I did is I took Mr. Johnson's, a few of his slides to highlight what the Human Relations Commission, specifically Commissioner Day and Mendoza, what they're doing with this data, how they're working with the teams like Brent Stockwell and the Polco group, Kelly Cressett, and those folks getting together and really dissecting it. And they were pretty surprised on some of the data, and they really honed in on the 18 to 24. They recognized the differences in perspective from ages. So that was really good. I think that learning and learning how to connect the things that they learned in that session about self and the relationship to others to correlate with the data that we see that impacts different persons on a greater level. It just really encouraged them within their own businesses to develop that new, as I call it, diversity lens. It's something they can pull up to think about and bring in different considerations in their work and in their community. So overall, it was a great opportunity for us. So thank you. That was it.
Thank you, Sharon. Okay, and so now item number 7, identification of future agenda items. And then I'd like to now bring back up Vice Chair Hinchman's comment about at what point would the HRC be able or willing to meet in person. So I would like to just open up this discussion. Does staff have any comment about in-person meetings? Is there any new update? And then to the commissioners, would you be willing and able to meet in person?
Chair Shimakubo, this is Kelly. I can answer that if you'd like.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission. We do have an update. Actually, within the past few weeks, we, at the direction of the city manager, have set up the nave in the community design studio, the space that you are all familiar with, to accommodate in-person meetings for city boards and commissions, with the caveat that the commissioners and staff would be the only people able to attend in person. Any public or guests beyond about, I take that back. Any public that would want to attend or comment would have to do so via Zoom. If there was a guest presenter, we could probably accommodate them in person. I think our capacity in the room is 10 persons in the room. So it's really up to the commission. If the commission wants to avail itself of that meeting space for your next meeting, then we can make that happen. And it would be like I said, the nave is set up in a permanent, semi-permanent configuration at this point, so that boards and commissions such as yourselves can meet. I don't know that we've had any take advantage of it yet, but it was set up specifically for this purpose in mind. So I'm glad it's come up, and we're happy to accommodate the commission in that space if that's what you desire. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. And there are 2 comments, myself and Vice Chair Hinchman. So quick question, Kelly. Would we still be able to have our second Monday? Because I know Zoom was an issue, right? That everybody wanted it on the same day. So do you feel like we can still have this as our date?
Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission, I think that's possible. Yes, we'll have to double check before I can say with certainty. But I do not believe any other commissions have moved into this daytime slot.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Hinchman, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you, Kelly, for that. That's, I don't know, that just makes me really happy. I'm just coming from, I wouldn't care if we wear masks, if we're way separated, but at least it's somewhat in person. If anybody feels uncomfortable, you know, I would hope they would speak out now so we can see if this is worth exploring, because over the last year, just being in the healthcare field, the mental effects that this has had on people is, I've seen it really in some really bad ways. So I think we're at a point where we can at least talk about it. And I would hope that each commissioner will feel comfortable. And if they don't, please speak up, because, you know, I'm ready and I would really like to at least try to be in person. So, you know, please speak up. We're all here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. And Commissioner Roden has his hand raised.
Thank you, Chair Shimakubo. To the point of the Vice Chair, I wholeheartedly agree, but, you know, I also want to make it fun. So I'm willing to meet in person if we order food. As a celebration, as a celebratory event, I love the meetings where we are able to, you know, break bread with one another and sort of, you know, celebrate our accomplishments and do those types of things. And I also want to lend I guess if anyone is apprehensive, that I don't want anyone to feel as if, and excuse me if I'm putting words in your mouth, Vice Chair, I don't want anyone to feel as if they have to. And so I totally and completely love the idea that Kelly mentioned, that people can still Zoom in, and, you know, we have the LCD projector in the space. And so if that is still a possibility for people to join in that way, in that capacity, and then as future dates beyond the main meeting feel more comfortable, can participate then. I just wouldn't want to, you know, miss out on anyone not being able to attend because they feel some sort of trepidation or any type of thing like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Roden. And Kelly has his hand raised.
Chair Shimakubo, thank you. I wanted to reiterate and thank you for Commissioner Roden for bringing that up. The hybrid setup is open to commissioners as well. So if there are a handful of commissioners who want to be in the room and a few others who want to participate via Zoom, we can accommodate that. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay, so right now we have two commissioners who are absent, and I wanted to make a comment quickly for the record. We received an email from Jim Eneman saying that at about 5:10 p.m. his internet went out, so he has not been in our call since the beginning of our meeting, but he did attempt to come, so he had some technology issues. So back to the question at hand. Does anybody else, I don't know, does everyone feel comfortable doing a roll call vote? Do you want to try to meet in May in person? Does anyone have any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Mendoza.
Yeah, thank you for the comments. I would also agree to meeting in person, but as Kelly said, the hybrid option is always open, and I'm not sure why we need to take a vote. We should just let everybody know that, you know, they can come in person or they can join by Zoom. That would be welcome as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Mendoza. So let me ask Kelly a question again. So if we make the sort of just say, okay, we're going to meet in person in May and 2 people show up, is that acceptable?
Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission, I think that's fine. It would be preferable for us to know in advance who will be there and who won't. But I don't think that it really changes the way that we will prepare and have the meeting room set up. No, it won't really change depending on how many people are going to be there versus online.
Okay, thank you for that. And Commissioner Day has her hand raised.
Yes, I'm good for in person. You can mark me down.
Okay, and I'm kind of in between. So, I mean, I like the hybrid. So I know we said let's not vote on it, but I'd like to get clarification though somehow. What do we want to do then? Shall we say May 10th will be an in-person meeting then? And Commissioner Roden, please speak.
Chair Shimakubo, I would like to make a motion that we open up our May meeting to meet in person with the option to let Sharon know by the time the agenda is distributed to us, whether or not we're going to meet in person or via Zoom.
Okay,
This is Vice
thank
Chair
you.
Hinchman, I second.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the table and a vote. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Abstained? No? Okay, so Commissioner Roden, do you still have your hand raised for a comment?
Oh, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, so then it looks like, or it sounds like based on our voice roll call or vote, we are going to meet on Monday, May 10th at the Community Design Center at 5 p.m. And we are to let Sharon know at least 24 hours in advance, preferably more time, whether we will be there in person or be joining via Zoom. Vice Chair Hinchman?
Sorry, I just have one question for Kelly. Can you explain what the modifications have been in that room for us? I mean, is it just spacing? Are there plexiglass? What kind of modifications have been done physically in that room?
Vice Chair Hinchman, Chair Shimakubo, members of the commission, it is almost exactly as you described. There are individual tables for each participant that are probably closer to 10 feet apart versus 6 feet apart, although Mr. Stockwell was involved in getting the room laid out, and I think he had his tape measure there. So they're definitely at least 6 feet apart. There are also plexiglass shields in front of each speaker. I guess those are really the primary things. So that room, which in normal configuration could seat a few dozen members of the public, in addition to a horseshoe commission setup, now really can only accommodate, as I said before, I believe we have it set up so that it can accommodate 10 total people in the room. So there's plenty of space, as much as we could provide to allow folks to have their space, be able to be in the same room, but not too close to each other. I hope that answers your questions. Thanks. I can also send a photo tomorrow if you're interested.
No, it's good, Kelly. Well, for me, that's good. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Well, that is the end of our agenda for today. Are there any other future agenda items other than our standing items, right? Which is our strategic plan updates and activities. Is there anything that anyone else would like to put on the agenda for next month? I would like to add one, which would be the 70th anniversary, making that a separate item and all of us coming together with potential ideas to bring forward. So Sharon, if we could add that, please. And Commissioner Roden, you have your hand raised.
I would also like to, people stop taking my idea. That's what I was going to say. But I was also going to say, just included in that update, a debrief of the town hall and any other items that may take place between now and then.
Yes,
Or
like
events,
our
I'm sorry,
ADO.
events.
The ADO will always be on
Right,
there.
exactly.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you so much, Commission and Chair Shimakubo. I have those three items written down. and we'll make sure
Okay.
we'll put them on the agenda.
Okay, so before we adjourn, just a reminder, everybody, next Tuesday, April 20th, the city council will be voting on the ADO, and Sharon, Brent, or Kelly, I believe is that at 5 p.m.? Or we should go on the website and make sure we know what time. So, yes, Commissioner Roden.
Sorry, one more point of clarification for the city council meeting. Are they in the city council chambers having visitors, or is that something that we join via Zoom? Thanks.
Brent, Kelly, or yeah, Brent or Kelly.
Chair Shimakubo, Commissioner Roden, members of the commission, the public is still participating remotely.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, do I hear a motion to adjourn? I move we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, thank you, everybody, for a really good meeting, and we will stay tuned for next Tuesday, our big day.
Awesome.
So
Thanks so
thank
much.
you. Have a good week.
You
Be
too.
safe,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.